Comic review, and it's not a 1 or 2 minute one. This one's actually going to be a long video because I actually want to go through the 2 issues of the 2025 Shredder series. Now, again, this only 2 issues came out, but I'm already loving it. So the comic starts with an old man walking down the street, and he notices that the van on the left of him is actually a CIA van. And so why are they here spying on the building? Well, that's because this building used to belong to the Foot Clan. And this old man is not any ordinary old man. This is Oroku Saki, aka the Shredder. As the 2 former Foot Clan members attack the Shredder, Oroku kind of shows them why he's the guy that gave Leonardo PTSD back in 2003. And after he takes care of those 2 guys, he heads up to the next floor where he's meeting with more former Foot Clan members. And he kind of does make fun of them a little, saying like how this sword is not sharpened and how all their deaths are going to be very brutal. And let me tell you what, Shredder was putting so much belt to ass, I thought this was 2012 Shredder for a second. And then we see the new leader of the New Foot. And it's revealed that she used to actually be an apprentice that trained under the Shredder, but she kind of turned against him because he never noticed them in any type of way. Not only that, she puts the Shredder down pretty much easily. However, she doesn't manage to actually get the chance to put him down permanently because the SWAT team then comes in and arrests Shredder, but she manages to get away. The organization that captured Shredder is known as Darkwater, and they came with him with a deal. They said, hey, help us take down your former disciple because we know she's building a bomb, and we'll make sure that your legacy and your honor is restored. So he takes them up on their offer, gets a haircut, and then gets a new battlesuit. To which then he completely tears apart, saying he's tired of technology, magic, and everything, and that he can only rely on cold hard steel and skill. In the next issue, we start off by seeing the Shredder kind of sharpening his claws, and the 2 agents are talking about whether or not they should kind of keep him locked up or not. However, Agent Elda tells him that if he really wanted to, he can leave whenever he wants, but he just chooses not to. And then Shredder appears out of nowhere, showing that yeah, if he really wanted to leave, he really could have. And Shredder tells him that they're going to go see a person called Cobra, and then it cuts to a bar called Snake Pit, which is, you know, if you're a person that has a cult named, you know, Cobra or something, it's probably best not to name an establishment Snake Pit or anything that could, you know, give away your location, especially if your cult's called something called Cobra. So the Shredder goes up in there and demands that the bartender tells him where Cobra is, but she kind of plays coy, saying that, you know, she doesn't know anything about anything. And she tells him that he better leave or she's gonna call the cops. And as the bartender calls the cops, Alda comes in and she asks Shredder why he's looking for King Cobra. King Cobra is somewhat of an urban legend, and whose cult is so elusive that it kind of doesn't feel like it exists. Not to mention, he's a man that hides his mutant face behind the mask. And she also asks, is making a scene kind of like really worth it? And the Shredder tells her that may be the point. Then he tells the bartender not to go for the gun, and then that's when the 2 bikers in the bar, who happen to be Cobra cultists, kind of want to take him in the back alley with a steel pipe. But then that's when Shredder again puts belt to ass. However, Alda tries to stop the Shredder for going a little too far, and he somehow, while she was grabbing his arm, tosses her into the pinball machine. But before the biker takes another crack at the Shredder, he, well, gets to him first and tells him to take him to Cobra. So the biker takes him down to the basement and shows him a hidden passageway. However, the Shredder senses a trap and tosses the guy in first, and then he gets mowed down by a bunch of guys. And, well, now we know that the bartender didn't really call the cops. And Cobra asks if the Shredder is there to kind of take him out for kind of having his organization hidden from the Foot Clan. And the Shredder tells him that, what, your organization, your kingdom of trash that you own? No, I knew you were there the whole time, King Cobra, and at any time I could have taken this all down and taken it all away from you, but I didn't. I kept all this information to myself. And the Shredder tells him that the only reason that he's there is to get information about his disciple and the weapon that she's building. However, King Cobra doesn't really give him any information and tells his men to take him out. And tells the Shredder that he's sorry that they didn't really work together, which could have turned out well for both of them. But remember guys, this is the Shredder. He does not go down easily. So after easily dispatching his men and kind of tackling down Cobra, he tears off the mask, which then shows that Cobra is not a mutant, he's just a normal guy. And Shredder tells him that he's not a serpent, he's just a little worm, and then gashes up his face pretty badly. Back at the Blackwater facility, Colonel Knight is kind of pissed that Alda somehow lost the Shredder, but then they hear a noise coming from his room and see that he came back, and he tells him that before he took out his tongue, well, Cobra's tongue, he talked, and now he has to go check up on somebody else. And I guess you can say that Shredder kind of keeps his promises, which is weird. So far with these two issues, I'm kind of hooked. I want to see how this story ends, but there is some things that I did leave out if you read this before you came to this video, and that is, I left out the parts where he talked about, or the scenes that showed worms and everything, as well as his death. Now, this is mainly my problem, and that's because I don't exactly know when or where this takes place. I do know back in the 2011 series by IDW, Shredder died and he came back. So I'm not too sure if this is actually like another branch where it kind of shows him coming back to life or something, or if this is somewhere kind of taking place where the Turtles kind of separate and came back again. That's the new 2025 series that just came out. So I'm not too sure on where this series is kind of at, but so far I'm hooked. I'm gonna stick with it, and I love the art and the story, and yeah, see you guys later.